This channel may feature copyrighted video and audio content under the guidelines of fair use permitted by copyright statute for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. All content and credit go to the original creators. No copyright infringement is intended.
By the way, an example, supposing we had a week ago when everybody was being killed and mugged and everything else, despite the phony numbers that were given out, that it was getting better. Brian, do you believe it was getting better or getting worse?
Oh, the crime was getting worse. I mean, I was robbed. It was getting way worse.
Yeah. How did the other guy come out?
Well, he came out with a briefcase.
Yeah.
Robert 1, Brian 0.
No, but can you imagine you do this and then you start hearing that they had a 20-year reduction of crime. It's worse. It was worse during the Biden administration than anybody's ever imagined possible. And I guarantee you, he wouldn't be here if those numbers continued. But now we have total safety. We have total security. And for the border, in 3 months, 0 people. These are done by liberal people that do these charts. 0 people came through our border in the last 90 days. Can you believe it? 0. Last year, we had millions of people coming in. And they came in from the wrong locations. They came in, a lot of people that shouldn't be here. So now when we have this event in December, it's going to be very safe. Johnny, you can walk down the street with your beautiful wife.
Yeah.
You can take her to dinner if you can get a reservation, which I doubt.
They're all full, the restaurants.
I know. They're all full. I heard that too. The restaurants the restaurants, since we are doing this, are doing great. And many new restaurants are going to open because, as you know, many closed. Many restaurants closed because the crime was so bad. This will be one of the safest places anywhere on earth. So, I really am honored that the National Guard has done such an incredible job working with the police. And we haven't had to bring in the regular military, which we're willing to do if we have to. And after we do this, we'll go to another location and we'll make it safe also. We're going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this. And it won't even be tough. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this one. But they're wearing red hats. African-American ladies, beautiful ladies, are saying, please, President Trump, come to Chicago. Please. I did great with the black vote, as you know, and they want something to happen. So I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York, and we're going to help with, and I think a lot of these people that you see on television, they are, including the people in this audience, they'll say bad things about me, and then they'll say, thank God he's here, because half of them got mugged, and they don't want to get mugged again. But they work for stupid people that are radical left, and they're made to do things and say things that they don't want to be saying. But the people right here are all happy because you're not going to be mugged in Washington, D.C. anymore.
Shout out to everybody in the building. So we are tuning in today to see what is going on
horribly by
in Chicago. As soon as I can get this to
like
mute.
a guy like Pritzer. He ought to spend more time in the gym, actually.
So it is a lot going on in Chicago. It is a Chicago takeover. It's gonna be. It's been a lot of talks about it. So it's a lot of things in the headlines about this. So some of the things, Trump reiterates the threats to send the National Guards to Chicago. Pritzer on Trump, National Guard threat. Do not come to Chicago. They do not want them in Chicago. So basically what we're going to be doing is listening at what both of them have to say, what points they're making and all of this. But we just heard what the president said, and also looking at this video, they said that they did not fact check it. Welcome in, everybody. Please smack the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you have not. And drop down in the chat and let me know who's here. But we're going to get into this.
This guy is a disaster. Gavin Newsom's a disaster. When we went, we saved Los Angeles. You wouldn't have been able to have the Olympics in Los Angeles. You're barely able to have it now. They did lose 25,000.
And we also going to look to see what social media has to say, and people of Chicago, what do they think about it, and if they really need the National Guards. So for the people in here, do you think that Chicago needs the National Guards to come in and take over? Let me know. Put a 1 in the chat.
As to a fire that should have never occurred because they didn't let the water come down from the Pacific Northwest, which you guys don't want to write about. I had to break into the water supply to let the water down. And even now, we want more. We can have much more. It's less than half of what should be coming in. I don't know, they have a political thing about it. It's like the craziest thing I've ever seen. But I don't like going to a town, city, place, a state, and then be criticized by some corrupt or incompetent governor where crime is rampant. Like, take a look at DC. Crime was rampant. It was at the all-time worst. It got really bad during the Biden 4 years. And then I have a mayor stand up and say how crime has reached a 30-year low. 30-year low. People are being killed left and right. And it's not a 30-year low. Think of it. So for 11 days, there's been no murders. The record goes back years where that's happened. They haven't seen that happen in years. And then people stand up and instead of thanking us, which they should do, and she's not that bad. She's better than most. But, you know, you have people I watched in Illinois. Chicago, Illinois is a disaster. I have property there. It's a disaster what's going on in Chicago. And you get Pritzer, he's violating our rights. I think this is another men and women's sports thing. I think this is one of those, you know, they call them 80-20 issues. I call them 97-3. I think the Democrats better get smart. And, you know, politically, I hope they don't. But actually, in terms of love for the country, I hope they do, because it will be good to work together. So I'm thinking about
welcome in Erica and Oliver.
Like Pritzer criticizing us before we even go there. I made the statement that next should be Chicago because, as you all know, Chicago is a killing field right now, and they don't acknowledge it. And they say we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator.
Do y'all think he likes a dictator? I see is a definitely different opinions about Trump in here and some strong ones. So do y'all think that Trump is trying to become a dictator? And do you feel like Chicago needs to have the military, the National Guards to take over? Shout out to Brian's in the building. How you doing, fam? Salute to you. Happy Tuesday, everybody.
Not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense and I'm a smart person. And when I see what's happening to our cities, and then you send in troops, instead of being praised, they're saying you're trying to take over the republic. These people are sick. But I'm really saying, and I say this to all of you, in a certain way, we should wait to be asked because they have cities that are so under control, you know, out of control. So we go in and fix it. They take the full credit for it, and they go out and say, I heard it this morning. They're saying how well they've done over the last 10-day period, that they set record lows. They don't say that we're there with very tough people, by the way. They have to pass the toughness test. Otherwise, they're not working for us. So, and we're allowed to do that now, according to the United States Supreme Court decision. Now, they have to pass the toughness test. If they're not tough, we don't want them for this job. They might be great for other jobs, but not for this job.
Let me see what everybody
they're respected. You saw the gang of kids. They were all huddled up. And a group of soldiers walked up. They never even got over. Those kids ran back to their homes or wherever the hell they came from. They were gone. This is one of the safest cities right now in the world, as crazy as that sounds. And it took 7 days. It took really 3 days, but we're now in our 11th day. So I want to thank you. So we had all of these things, 439 illegal alien criminals have been removed. And we have 6 known gang members, some of the worst leaders of gangs anywhere in the country, MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. We have 2 missing children that have been recovered. They thought they were gone. We brought them back to the family. The family started crying. They couldn't believe that they saw their child again. 49 homeless encampments have been removed. Like we have that.
So hold on 1 second. Yeah, so that is one of the big things that he was focusing in on in DC was removing the encampments, the homeless encampments, and I seen it being dismantled. And I don't know how everybody feels about this, but also they released this today saying make DC great again, and they have over 1,094 arrests and 115 guns seized. That is the update of today that I seen on Pam Bondi's social media.
Head of South Korea coming in a little while, the president, and he drives down the street. Already, his people have told me, he said, what happened? It's so clean. We always came here, it was filthy dirty with homeless and papers all over the road. That's the other thing. Those roads are swept immaculate, but they're going to be much better in a few months when we put a topping on them. They're going to look like they're brand new. We'll get rid of those rusty old medians that have been crashed into 1,000 times, and they don't fix them. They just let them, they lay them down on the road and they sit there for months. But we don't do that. We don't run things. We run things like we run this. We like clean, we like beautiful, and we like safe, and that's what we're getting. So I'll start signing the executive orders. To me, this is a very, very big deal. One of the executive orders has to do with cashless bail. That was when the big crime in this country started. And I can tell you who did it, when, but I don't want to do that because others followed pretty quickly. But that was when it happened. Somebody kills somebody, they go in, don't worry about it, no cash, come back in a couple of months, we'll give you a trial. You never see the person again. And I mean, they kill people and they get out. Cashless bail. They thought it was discriminatory to make people put up money because they just killed 3 people lying on a street. Any street all over the country, cashless bail. We're ending it, but we're starting by ending it in DC, and that we have the right to do through federalization.
So cashless bail is a system that releases defendants awaiting trial without requiring them to pay money, unlike traditional cash bail where money is paid for release. In cashless bail systems, a judge decides whether to release someone based on factors like flight risk or public safety threats, and detention is used only when these risks are higher. And the approach aims to eliminate the disparity where inability to pay money can lead to pre-trial detention, even for low-level offenses, though policies vary by jurisdictions. So how it works, the elimination of monetary requirements, defendants are released without having to pay bail. Then the jurisdictional decision making, a judge determine pretrial release considering if the individual poses a danger or a flight risk. Okay, so they getting rid of that.
Okay, let's go. Could I ask you to say exactly what this is?
Of course. So as you've consistently identified, sir, cashless bail policies are a key driver of the disorder we see on city streets all over America. Catch and release system allows criminals to keep going back out onto the street and reoffending. What this executive order does, it charges your attorney general with identifying jurisdictions all over the country that have cashless bail policies. And then it withholds or revokes federal funds and grants that are flowing to those jurisdictions to ensure that we're only supporting the people who have reasonable common sense policies around crime.
So what area does it cover?
Potentially anywhere that has a cashless bail policy. So some of the largest cities, some of the most left-wing states in America.
Almost all of them, right?
Illinois would be a great example of that, sir.
Oh, they have a great cashless bail. You don't even have to go to court sometimes. No, Illinois, I love that state. It's a great state, but it's run so badly by Pritzer. They threw him out of the family business and he becomes governor. Now he wants to run for president. I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, we'll sign right here, right?
Sir.
So important.
So what I'm saying here, the goals of cashless bills to promote fairness, to ensure that a person's financial resources don't determine their freedom before trial, which is a core argument of reform advocates according to the Bill Project. And I'm reading this stuff from Google, y'all. So reduce incarceration, to decrease the number of people held in jail solely because they cannot afford a bail. To decrease the number of people held in jail solely. How it differs from cash bail. This is the Google meaning. Cash bail requires a person to pay a set amount of money to secure their release. If they return for all court dates, the money is refunded. Cashless bail focus on a person's potential risk rather than their ability to pay. So that's the big difference. And then it says where it's in place at. It says Illinois become the first state to fully eliminate cash bail with the implementation of Safety Act in 2023. So obviously that ain't been working properly because here we are in 2025. And then it says District of Chicago. He had a cashless bail system in place in 1992. And then other jurisdiction states like New York, New Jersey, New Mexico have also limited or nearly eliminated the use of cash bail for certain offenses.
And this isn't Republican, Democrat. This is, and by the way, most Democrats agree with us. But this is just, we got to bring our country back.
Like repeat offenders. So who is this? JB coming up next?
I want to speak plainly about the moment that we are in and the actual crisis, not the manufactured one, that we are facing in this city and as a state and as a country. If it sounds to you like I am alarmist, that is because I am ringing an alarm, one that I hope every person listening will heed, both here in Illinois and across the country. Over the weekend, we learned from the media that Donald Trump has been planning for quite a while now to deploy armed military personnel to the streets of Chicago. This is exactly the type of overreach that our country's founders warned against. And it's the reason that they established a federal system with a separation of powers built on checks and balances. What President Trump is doing is unprecedented and unwarranted. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional. It is un-American. No one from the White House or the executive branch has reached out to me or to the mayor. No one has reached out to our staffs. No effort has been made to coordinate or to ask for our assistance in identifying any actions that might be helpful to us. Local law enforcement has not been contacted. We have made no requests for federal intervention, none. We found out what Donald Trump was planning the same way that all of you did. We read a story in the Washington Post. If this was really about fighting crime and making the streets safe, what possible justification could the White House have for planning such an exceptional action without any conversations or consultations with the governor, the mayor, or the police? Let me answer that question. This is not about fighting crime. This is about Donald Trump searching for any justification to deploy the military in a blue city, in a blue state, to try and intimidate his political rivals. This is about the President of the United States and his complicit lackey, Stephen Miller.
So what do y'all think about that?
Searching for ways to lay the groundwork to circumvent our democracy, militarize our cities, and end elections. There is no emergency in Chicago that calls for armed military intervention. There is no insurrection. There is no insurrection. Like every major American city in both blue and red states, we deal with crime in Chicago. Indeed, the violent crime rate is worse in red states and red cities. Here in Chicago, our civilian police force and elected leaders work every day to combat crime and to improve public safety. And it's working. Not one person here today will claim we have solved all crime in Chicago, nor can that be said of any major American metro area. But calling the military into a U.S. city to invade our streets and neighborhoods and disrupt the lives of everyday people is an extraordinary action, and it should require extraordinary justice.
Everybody tuning in, y'all, please smack the thumbs up for me. I greatly appreciate that. And subscribe to the channel if you have not. Set all notifications so you know every time we go live. We talk about politics and crime over here.
Justification. Look around you right now. Does this look like an emergency? Look at this. Go talk to the people of Chicago who are enjoying a gorgeous afternoon in this city Ask the families buying ice cream on the Riverwalk. Go see the students who are at the beach after school. Talk to the workers that I just met taking the water taxi to get here. Find a family who's enjoying today sitting on their front porch and ask if they want their neighborhoods turned into a war zone by a wannabe dictator. Ask if they'd like to pass through a checkpoint with unidentified officers in masks.
Is this about dictatorship? This is not the first time that I'm hearing about this. They were talking about the redirecting of the maps and confusing the votes. Do anybody agree with that? Is that what we're looking at?
While taking their kids to school. Crime is a reality we all face in this country. Public safety has been among our highest priorities since taking office. We have hired more police and given them more funding. We banned assault weapons, ghost guns, bump stocks, and high-capacity magazines. We invested historic amounts into community violence intervention programs. We listened to our local communities, to the people who live and work in the places that are most affected by crime, and asked them what they needed to help make their neighborhoods safer. Those strategies have been working. Crime is dropping in Chicago. Murders are down 32% compared to last year and nearly cut in half since 2021. Shootings are down 37% since last year and 57% from 4 years ago. Robberies are down 34% year over year. Burglaries down 21%. Motor vehicle thefts down 26%. So in case there was any doubt as to the motivation behind Trump's military occupations, take note. 13 of the top 20 cities in homicide rate have Republican governors. None of these cities is Chicago. 8 of the top 10 states with the highest homicide rates are led by Republicans. None of those states is Illinois. Memphis, Tennessee, Hattiesburg, Mississippi have higher crime rates than Chicago. And yet Donald Trump is sending troops here and not there. Ask yourself why. If Donald Trump was actually serious about fighting crime in cities like Chicago, he, along with his congressional Republicans, would not be cutting over $800 million in public safety and crime prevention grants nationally, including cutting $158 million in funding to Illinois for violence prevention programs that deploy trained outreach workers to de-escalate conflict on our streets. Cutting $71 million in law enforcement grants to Illinois, direct money for police departments through programs like Project Safe Neighborhoods, the state and local anti-terrorism training program, and the Rural Violent Crime Reduction Initiative. Cutting $137 million in child protection measures in Illinois that protect our kids against abuse and neglect. Trump is defunding the police. To the members of the press who are assembled here today and listening across the country, I am asking for your courage to tell it like it is. This is not a time to pretend here that there are two sides to this story. This is not a time to fall back into the reflexive crouch that I so often see, where the authoritarian creep by this administration is ignored in favor of some horse race piece on who will be helped politically by the president's actions.
For the people tuning in, y'all, please smack the thumbs up. It is completely free and it's support to the host. Please smack the thumbs up at the sound of my voice and also subscribe to the channel. So he says Chicago is just fine. The crime is down. They don't need National Guards. And this is all about confusing voting and being a dictator. What y'all think?
Donald Trump wants to use the military to occupy a U.S. city, punish his dissidents, and score political points. If this were happening in any
or political points, this is all what it's about. This is what he is saying. They've been going at it for a while too. So Eric said it's all lies. Eric says it's BS. What y'all got to say? Let me know. Eric, please smack that thumbs up, and everybody tuning in.
other country we would have no trouble calling it what it is, a dangerous power grab. Look at the people assembled before you today, behind me. This is a full cross-section of Chicago's leaders from the business world, the faith community, law enforcement, education, community organizations, and more. We sometimes disagree on how to effectively solve the many challenges that our state and our city face on a daily basis. But today we are standing here united in public, in front of the cameras, unafraid to tell the president that his proposed actions will make our jobs harder and the lives of our residents worse. Earlier today in the Oval Office, Donald Trump looked at the assembled cameras and asked for me personally to say, Mr. President, can you do us the honor of protecting our city? Instead, I say, Mr. President, do not come to Chicago.
Y'all think he gonna listen?
You are neither wanted here nor needed here. Your remarks about this effort over the last several weeks have betrayed a continuing slip in your mental faculties and are not fit for the auspicious office that you occupy. Most alarming, you seem to lack any appropriate concern as our commander-in-chief for the members of the military that you would so callously deploy as pawns in your ever more alarming grabs for power. As a governor, I've had to make the decision in the past to call up members of the National Guard into active service. And I think it's worth taking a moment to reflect on how seriously I take that responsibility and on the many things that I consider before asking these brave men and women to leave their homes and their communities to serve in any capacity for us. As I've said many times in the past, members of the National Guard are not trained to serve as law enforcement. They are trained for the battlefield, and they're good at it. They're not trained to arrest people and read them their Miranda rights. They did not sign up for the National Guard to fight crime. And when we call them into service, we are reaching into local communities and taking people who have jobs and families away from their neighborhoods and the people who rely upon them. It is insulting to their integrity and to the extraordinary sacrifices that they make.
Right now, I am relying upon y'all thumbs up. So it's almost 1,000 people in here and between the two channels. If y'all could please smack the thumbs up in support of the host, it is very necessary. And also, do y'all believe? Put a 1 in the chat if you believe that this is about voting, or if you believe that this is about politics. Because he said the crime is down. They do not need him or the troops to come in.
To serve in the Guard, to use them as a political prop, where they could be put in situations where they will be at odds with their local communities, the ones that they seek to serve. I know Donald Trump doesn't care about the well-being of the members of our military, but I do. And so do all the people standing here. So let me speak to all Illinoisans and to all Chicagoans right now. Hopefully the president will reconsider this dangerous and misguided encroachment upon our state and our city's sovereignty. Hopefully rational voices, if there are any left inside the White House or the Pentagon, will prevail in the coming days. If not, we are going to face an unprecedented and difficult time ahead. But I know you, Chicago, and I know you are up to it. When you protest, do it peacefully. Be sure to continue Chicago's long tradition of nonviolent resistance. Remember that the members of the military and the National Guard who will be asked to walk these streets are, for the most part, here unwillingly. And remember that they can be court-martialed and their lives ruined if they resist deployment. Look to the members of the faith community standing behind me today for guidance on how to mobilize. To my fellow governors across the nation who would consider pulling your National Guards from their duties at home to come into my state against the wishes of its elected representatives and its people, you would be failing your constituents and your country. Cooperation and coordination between our states is vital to the fabric of our nation, and it benefits us all. Any action undercutting that and violating the sacred sovereignty of our state to cater to the ego of a dictator will be responded to. The state of Illinois is ready to stand against this military deployment with every peaceful tool we have. We will see the Trump administration in court. We will use every lever at our disposal to protect the people of Illinois and their rights. Finally, to the Trump administration officials who are complicit in this scheme, to the public servants who have forsaken their oath to the Constitution to serve the petty whims of an arrogant little man, to any federal official who would come to Chicago and try to incite my people into violence as a pretext for something darker and more dangerous, we are watching and we are taking names. This country has survived darker periods than the one that we're going through right now. And eventually the pendulum will swing back, maybe even next year. Donald Trump has already shown himself to have little regard for the many acolytes that he has encouraged to commit crimes on his behalf. You can delay justice for a time, but history shows you cannot prevent it from finding you eventually. If you hurt my people, nothing will stop me, not time or political circumstance, from making sure that you face justice under our constitutional rule of law. As Dr. King once said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Humbly, I would add, it doesn't bend on its own. History tells us we often have to apply force needed to make sure that the arc gets where it needs to go. This is one of those times.
Yeah, so he is not falling for anything that the president has to say, and we definitely want to hear we definitely want to hear what everybody has to say. What do y'all think about that? Sounds like he taking oh shoot, it's moving so fast. Shout out to the 1,170 people in here. Y'all please smack the thumbs up. We gonna just keep it going because we are learning right now. But do y'all agree with the takeover?
Good afternoon. I made it.
National Guards.
Good afternoon, everyone. To echo our governor, thank you for being here. Though the circumstances that Trump is seeking to create are both deeply unfortunate and obviously unnecessary. Donald Trump never had the courage himself to raise his right hand and serve his country in uniform. But let me just say from personal experience, and that consists of 23 years in the military, 17 of which proudly as a member of the Illinois National Guard, that the men and women who are brave enough to wear this country's flag on their shoulder are doing so to defend our nation's rights and freedoms, not to protect a tin pot dictator's thin skin or to police their own neighbors. It's not what they signed up for, and it's certainly not what their training is focused on. I don't want to repeat too much of what Governor Pritzer had just laid out, so let me just say that it should come as no surprise that Donald Trump is once again attacking Chicago. He has for a long time, and he will probably keep on doing it for years to come. It is because he is afraid of us. But his attacks don't do anything to change the reality that he has a long pattern of politicizing and misusing our nation's military for his own partisan gain and to crush dissent. And that.
Okay, she just said he's afraid of Chicago. What do y'all think? Do y'all agree that he's afraid of Chicago? What do y'all think he's doing?
That is beyond outrageous. I went to war. I was federalized as a member of the National Guard to defend America's freedoms. So you better believe that I'm going to speak out when he's doing his damnedest to keep other Americans from speaking out, from exercising their First Amendment rights. And let me say it again, one of the most patriotic things you can do in this nation isn't necessarily serving in uniform. It is standing up and exercising your First Amendment rights and speaking truth to power. We know that Trump's actions are not about law and order. Give me a break. We know this for 1,001 reasons, but I will give you one. Because Trump is flagrantly, even today, refusing to coordinate with state and local officials. Just this morning, I was in touch with the National Guard officials, and they confirmed to me that he has not reached out to them. And if he really cared about health and safety, he would have cut millions of dollars in gun violence prevention funding just weeks ago. Instead, this is just another sad, desperate attempt by a small man to distract the American people from the price spikes his own policies are still causing and the countless personal scandals he's trying to sweep under the rug and hope that we don't notice. We should not get distracted, but he also should not be forcing our guardsmen and women to have to be away from their loved ones, forcing them to take time off from their full-time jobs simply to stroke his own ego. And let me be clear, our military will feel the cost of this PR stunt as it takes resources and focus away from the real missions they need to train for. What they should be doing is preparing for air assault missions. They should be preparing for convoy operations. They should be training to help us in the event of a flood or a tornado and other natural disasters. They should be training to fight, to take the fight to the enemies abroad, not to bring the fight to neighbors here at home. He is also inflicting reputational damage on our nation's military, which is supposed to be nonpartisan. He is taking it and he is deploying our troops on the streets of our nation's communities and hurting the readiness of the greatest fighting force on the face of the earth. Frankly, all this would be embarrassing if it weren't so devastating for those involved and so terrifying for the future and the security of our nation. Forcing the military uninvited into Chicago to intimidate Americans in their own neighborhoods does not make our nation stronger.
So I just wanted to stop it right there to say, so President Trump posted, as the president of the United States, I will stand up for the countries that attack our incredible American tech companies. Oh, he talking about something else now. Let me let her keep going. We'll get into that.
It distracts our service members from executing their core mission of keeping Americans safe from the real adversaries who wish to do us harm.
One thing about it, everything is moving in lightning speed, y'all. It's a lot to keep up with. It's updates like every day, probably a couple times a day. So we like to pay attention over here, at least see what's being said, because regardless of what people are saying about, oh, this is illegal, he can't do this, and all of this, it's all happening.
It's yet another unwarranted, unwanted, and unjust move straight out of the authoritarian's playbook that will only undermine our military's readiness and ultimately weaken our national security. Donald Trump should be worried about and should be focused on standing up to Vladimir Putin. Instead, he rolls out the red carpet for him. Donald Trump should be supporting Ukraine in its fight against Russia, and yet he does nothing of the sort.
Do y'all agree with that?
Donald Trump should be fighting the Houthi rebels, and yet he has not been able to do that, spending millions of dollars to ineffectively try to stop them from stopping shipping in the Red Sea. Maybe if Donald Trump hadn't dodged a draft so many times, and by the way, that's 5 times that he dodged a draft when his nation called and he decided, ouch, my bone spurs are hurting, he would have actually learned something about keeping our country strong. But that is obviously...
Now they laughing on that one. Now I've heard that a lot of times that he dodged the going to the military, and he went to a military camp or school.
Too much to expect from Cadet Bone Spurs. With that, I'll hand it over to Derek Douglas.
Is that true, y'all? Let me know if that's true in the chat.
Here with Senator Durbin.
Okay, so all right. Now let's go. Let's see what the old mayor of Chicago had to say. And then let me read this, what I just had.
Joining me now is Democratic former Chicago mayor.
Hold on. Chicago is on the map, y'all. Y'all know anything that happens in Chicago is like a testing space. It starts there and then it moves to other cities. And so, DC was the first. And now Chicago, who's next? Is it New York? Is it Philadelphia? I don't know. But the thing that I was trying to read, let me see. Y'all, please smack the thumbs up. It is very important. But this is what I was trying to read. And this was posted today. As the president of the United States, I stand up to countries that attack our incredible American tech companies. Digital taxes, digital service legislation, and digital markets regulations are all designed to harm or discriminate against American technology. They also outrageously give a complete pass to China's largest tech companies. This must end, and end now. With this truth, I put all countries with digital taxes, legislation, rules, and legislation on notice that unless these discriminatory actions are removed, I, as President of the United States, will impose substantial additional tariffs on that country's exports to the USA and institute export restrictions on our highly protected technology and chips. Now, I had just seen the other day that somebody, I think it was the EU, they suspended all deliveries to the US unless it's 800 and up. And then American technology companies are neither a piggy bank nor a doormat of the world any longer. Show respect to America and our amazing tech companies, or consider the consequences. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And then the person that shared this, actually, somebody shared this 13 hours ago. Breaking: Trump has a message for the world. Trump will stand up to countries that attack our incredible tech companies. We will not be bullied, they said. Are we being bullied? Let me know in the chat. Are we being bullied?
Lori Lightfoot. Lori, thank you so much for spending your time with us this
Lori
weekend.
looked mad.
So what's your immediate reaction to the possibility of the National Guard being deployed to Chicago?
Well, obviously, it would be a terrible mistake. But as we've seen throughout his political career, and particularly this second term.
Come on, people. Double tap the screen and smack the thumbs up, please. Shout out to everybody tuning in. Let me see what y'all saying. Let me see. Our country will not be. Not anymore. I've been there, lived it as a white boy for a minute. I'll never... Oh, it went away. I'll never go back to that place. Was a war zone and a dump. Are you talking about Chicago? I heard Chicago is a beautiful place. I actually used to go to Chicago all the time. Beetlejuice. LL is a lightweight. Oh, Lori or Luke Lightfoot. Are we being bullied? No concept of what is truly going on. Lori Lightfoot, thumbs up. Yeah, y'all please smack the thumbs up. And let's see what Lori talking about.
President Trump likes breeding chaos and fear. But what I will urge my fellow Chicagoans is to lay daisies at the feet of any military force that shows up in our city. Don't show up in mass. Don't show up to engage in antagonistic tactics. Let's show what we know, which is how to protest peacefully in the city of Chicago.
Now, on Friday, President Trump suggested he'd send the National Guard to Chicago because that's what people in the city want. Here's what he had to say.
And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this one, but they're wearing red hats. African-American ladies, beautiful ladies, are saying, please, President Trump, come to Chicago. Please. I did great with the black vote, as you know, and they want something to happen. So I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York.
All right, you heard the president's words right there. So what's your reaction to Trump's words and what he had to say?
It's painful to have a president who lives in his own fantasy world, who lies with such incredible ease. Nobody here in Chicago is asking him to come. Our violent crime rates are down, as they are all across this country. He will manufacture a crisis. He will try to provoke confrontation and then use that as a justification. That's why we need to do what many before who engaged in peaceful protests, not only in this city, but across the country. We need to lay daisies at the feet of any military force here. The National Guard is not a police force. They are a military force. We've seen, unfortunately, tragedy strike when they've gone in other cities, particularly during the summer of 2020 in Minneapolis and Louisville. We don't need the National Guard here. We have great partnerships, and we have for decades with our local sheriff's department, the state police, our federal partners. There is no reason whatsoever that a political sideshow that President Trump is going to manufacture to send the military into the great city of Chicago. We're not going to have it. I'm confident that there will be lawsuits that will be brought, but we are mobilizing neighborhood by neighborhood to make sure that our residents actually feel safe, that our small businesses do not suffer economically, as has happened in other cities, but we'll be prepared to push back on what is an absolutely illegal authoritarian action on the part of this president.
Now, when you were mayor in 2021, you actually asked then U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland to send ATF agents to Chicago for 6 months, as well as more federal prosecutors and federal marshals. So should Chicago welcome help from the National Guard as well? What's the difference here?
No, the difference in the summer of 2020, we were awash in illegal guns, and we needed additional support from the federal government to frankly step up and do its job. That is far different than what the experience is that we're talking about now. And that was actually not Merrick Garland in 2020. That was under the Trump administration. What we said is, look, if you really want to be a partner with us, help us stop the flow of illegal guns. Pass federal common sense gun control measures. Of course, no support from the federal government for the things that we actually needed were forthcoming. So it's an apples to apples situation. And again, the National Guard is not a police force. They are a military force. They are trained not to de-escalate, not to build relationships with community in a time of crisis. What they're trained to do is put down a threat with lethal force. That is not what we need in this moment in Chicago. Now, we've welcomed the National Guard. They were great partners and friends of ours through COVID, through other national disasters. That is what they were built to do domestically in communities. They are not a local police force. And that's...
Do y'all agree that the National Guard is not a local police force and they shouldn't be using them for this? This is what she's saying. It's a misuse of the troops. And basically he wouldn't understand because he denied the draft years ago. I don't know. I just heard that when Pritzer was talking.
Got to be very clear. We don't need them to do policing.
Or not Pritzer, the other lady. I don't know that lady's name that was just speaking. Let me know if y'all know the lady, the Mexican or Spanish lady, I think, that was just speaking.
Chicago.
And I was referring to under the Biden administration in 2021. But I do want to ask you this then. You said that's not what Chicago needs. So what does Chicago need right now?
Chicago needs to make sure that federal funds to shore up our social safety net, whether it's from Medicaid, whether it's for food programs, whether it's support for after-school programs. That's where we need the federal government to step up and do its job. But what we don't need is a manufactured crisis where the military is here. So Donald Trump gets this visual of acting like he's the commander in chief and taking over control of local cities. That is a stage act. We don't need that. We need him to focus on doing what he said he would do, which is to lower gas prices, to lower grocery prices, to make sure that we're not involved in any more foreign wars.
How many of y'all want lower gas and grocery prices? Because I'm telling you, all the tariffs of the world is in Walmart. Food is high as hell. I can't disagree with that. We do need to work on those prices.
All the things that he promised that he was going to do, he's failed miserably. So this is a distraction from the fact that in 9 months, he has failed to do his job.
And it is a lot going on in Chicago, y'all. I've been reporting crime since 2020, and Chicago, I started with them, and it is it is a lot of crime going on like every weekend. I was just looking at it from this weekend, but I don't have it in front of me right now. But the crime is high. But is this really about that? I mean, the gangs, right away when he talked about the immigration, he talked about when he talked about going to Washington, I heard him speaking on immigration before that and then immigration when he was there, but then it turned into also gangs and different things like that. So when they went out to Washington, I seen them in a lot of hoods.
As president of the United States.
Now, within those 9 months, President Trump has sent or threatened to send troops to LA, DC, Chicago, New York, and now Baltimore. So,
and I can't say that I disagree with cleaning up the Washington if they had a bunch of homeless encampments all around. That's like a very sore eye. I don't know. I believe that it should be something more beneficial. They should do something in replacement for the homeless people and not just take them to jail or whatever happened. But also, I mean, I think it do need to be cleaned up when it comes down to that. I remember hearing a lot of complaints about businesses, and I know this might not be his focus, but it is an issue with business owners and having homeless people sleeping outside their businesses, and they gotta power wash the ground, a poop and piss from all night, and like that is really bad. So I mean, I do agree with that. Where I live at, we don't have homeless people laying around, but I will say that like I did see maybe one or two. It's just not something that I'm used to seeing. So, but I don't feel like you should just throw homeless people away and do away with them and not help them. I mean, it should be more options. Maybe build something for them. They opening up all of these prisons and stuff like that. One thing about the world, it will always be homeless people. There will always be poor. The poor will always be among us. So what do we do? Are they filling the prisons with the homeless people? Do y'all know what happened to the ones that went to jail? Some people homeless, they choose to be there. A lot of them have burned all bridges with everybody that they know, and some of them just want to be out there and don't want to be bothered. So maybe it'll help bring some people back home and families together. But I don't know, y'all. It's the world is changing, and it's something that we've never seen before, and it is scary. But we paying attention. So let's keep going.
why do you think those cities are on his list?
Well, it's obvious, isn't it? They're all Democratic cities, and in many of those cities, they're all controlled by Black mayors. This is reactivating his playbook from his campaign in 2020 when he went after Chicago and DC and Atlanta and other cities run by Democratic mayors, and many of them at that time run by Black women. Trump does not believe the cities are his allies, and so he wants to attack us, even though
They was
cities
in
across this
LA
country
already.
are 80% of the GDP. The American economy would crater without the resources and
Oh wait, as a matter of fact, oh, you mean with the homeless? Yeah, as a matter of fact, they started with LA with the National Guards, right? And then it was Washington, and now they're talking about Chicago, right?
economic firepower that cities bring to bear. He doesn't care about that. He wants to make sure that we submit to his will, and that is never going to happen in the city of Chicago.
Now, I will say right now, lawsuits are still playing out over the president's National Guard deployment in Los Angeles. So are there any lessons Chicago can learn from LA?
Well, I think there's lessons that we can learn from LA and from DC, but also going back to 2020. We have to fight him in the courts. We have to fight him peacefully. There's not a civil rights protest movement that has gone through this country in the last 100 years that hasn't either emanated in Chicago or that Chicago hasn't been a big part of. Whether it's the labor movement, whether it's women's right to vote and choice, whether it's the disability rights, environmental, you name it, we are ground zero for a lot of that peaceful protest. We're going to draw upon that history and make sure that we make people see on a national and international stage, one, that Chicago is a great American city. Number two, that we do not submit to dictators and that we are handling our business ourselves.
Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, thank you for your time.
Can they handle their business themselves? According to what we've been looking at in Chicago for, it has been a very long time. Let's see some of this. Oh, this is the long version.
And Washington, D.C. is now in great shape. I'm going to be working with Clark Construction, which is by far your biggest construction company. And we're going to. Trump doesn't know what he's talking about. He only apprehended 9 people. Well, 9 people. We didn't arrest 9 people.
All right, let's just start at the top.
It's a very important day for many reasons. We've had a lot of important days lately. But this is a meeting and a group of people that are doing an unbelievable job on a thing called crime, and in particular, violent crime. Today, we're going to be discussing it. And I watched as a very incompetent mayor from Chicago said, well, what do they know? They only arrested 9 people. I said, 9 people? We didn't arrest 9 people. We actually arrested a total of well over 1,000 people. We took hundreds of guns away from young kids that were throwing them around like it was candy. We apprehended scores of illegal aliens. We seized dozens of illegal firearms. There have been 0 murders. It sounds sort of terrible to say. It's embarrassing. I did this over the weekend. I'm making a speech, and I acted like I was so proud. As I said, we've had 0 murders in the last week. And some of these people were from foreign countries. They said, that doesn't sound so good. And I said, well, it doesn't sound good, but Washington was the most dangerous place in this country. And now, you know what? It's probably the safest place in our country. Everyone's starting to come here. The restaurants now you can't get in. Many of them closed because they couldn't open with crime. Everybody.
Wait, Washington was one of the worst. Let me just let him talk normal, because a lot is coming out right now. Let me just let him talk normal. Y'all please smack the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, support us by hitting that thumbs up. That's all I ask.
Before me is happy what I'm doing. Most of you won't say that because you're radical left. The newspapers are so dishonest. The press is totally dishonest, but that's all right. We've gotten used to it. And we won in a landslide, so they obviously lost their power. I mean, it's impossible to imagine that when you get 97% negative stories, purposely negative stories, even though you've done 97% positive things, that you could win an election in a landslide, winning all 7. Think of it, all 7 swing states, winning by the popular vote by millions of votes. We had it fantastic. The best is your districts out of 3,000 districts. I guess we won 3,500. We won 2,750, and they won 500. And that's, to me, the best of all. And we had tremendous in every way, the election. And it's hard to believe you can do that when you have a corrupt media. But many of you are corrupt, and it's nothing we can do about it. But we keep winning, and we're going to keep winning. And this whole story on crime is incredible that the Democrats wouldn't be with us. So the mayor of Chicago, I watched him this morning. He said, Trump doesn't know what he's talking about. He only apprehended 9 people. Well, number one, that's false. It's thousands. We'll get into that. But more importantly than anything, we took guns away. We have some of the worst career professionals out of the country already. They've been taken out of the country, and some are in solid confinement because these were killers. We arrested some very bad people. And in the last 11 days, again, I hate to say it because it sounds so ridiculous, but in the last 11 days, we've had no murders. And that's the first time that's taken place in years, actually years. We always have a murder a week. They call it a murder a week. You come here from Iowa, you come here from Indiana, you come here from Idaho.
I think, ain't this the part that they had fact check? No murders where?
Because you're so proud of your country, you love your country, and then you get murdered. Your son gets murdered. Your daughter gets murdered. You get murdered. To the media, you get murdered. Many of you have been mugged in Washington. You just don't want to talk about it. And I know that every time I do this with you almost everything, but every time I do this with you people are saying to yourselves, he's right, and then you write a negative story. But we are doing an incredible job. The people behind me are amazing. We're working very well with the.
Let me know what y'all think about this. So somebody literally just posted this and said, why would President Trump allow 600,000 foreign Chinese students to move to America? Is that true? Let me know if that is true. I haven't heard that. This is my first time. But they said you can't trust anybody anymore. I give up on even trying. They are all lying. And I see y'all saying release the Epstein files. So speaking of the Epstein files, what do y'all think about the brother? His brother said that they unalived him to keep him shut. Not true. Now, who you calling a fool? Fool. Now, Jay, be nice, so you're gonna get blocked up in here. He's a damn fool. Dang, that's a strong word. Okay, so I don't know. I just wanted to see if anybody heard that. I'm gonna let this keep going because yeah, I don't know. Call Clinton on the Epstein. His brother, Epstein brother, had a lot to say.
Washington police, as you know.
Let me see if I can
The
find
DC
that.
National
Since y'all
Guard is
talking about him.
unbelievable. We're also getting tremendous help from Secret Service. And we are at a point where Washington is booming again. People are pouring in like we haven't seen for years. Nobody wanted to come here. They didn't want to come here and get murdered. I have a friend of mine who has a very successful son. And I said, where is your son going to be this weekend? He said, he's going to Washington with his friends. I said, really? Yeah, he's wanted to do it for 4 years, but he couldn't do it because it was so unsafe. And he's a tough kid, too. It's so unsafe. And he ended up staying 3 nights, going out to restaurants all 3 nights. He said it was so beautiful, so peaceful, because all the criminals are either arrested or they're hiding. And we're finding the ones that are hiding. So I want to thank Pam Bondi. I want to thank our vice president. I want to thank everybody standing behind me because they are really, Gaddy, you've been unbelievable, by the way. They have done an unbelievable job. They're working 24 hours a day. And Washington, D.C. is now in great shape. I'm going to be working with Clark Construction, which is by far your biggest construction company. And we're going to also beautify Washington. We're going to rip down the broken medians, fix them. We're going to put asphalt on the roads. We're not ripping them apart like these stupid people do. They rip a road down to the dirt, and then they spend 5 years in building the new one, and then it starts settling. You know, the whole thing is so crazy. And they'll spend hundreds of millions of dollars on a road. I'll spend about $2, and it'll look better. So we're going to be replacing medians. We're going to be replacing much of the asphalt in the road, which in the city, which is in bad shape. We have great stripers. We have great contractors, but we have to let them do the thing. The Congress has said that they'll give us whatever money is needed to fix up the Capitol. This is the Capitol. And we're not going to spend a lot. It's going to go fast, and it will be spotless. And we want it spotless for the World Cup and for the Olympics. You saw the World Cup was here the other day. And come to think of it, there's your trophy for the World Cup. In fact, it's solid gold. That's actually solid gold, so heavy that some of the people in this room wouldn't be able to lift it up. I think what I'm going to do is place it right above the angel, right over there. That's solid gold, too. We're going to put it right up there. Look at that. There's a solid gold trophy. They know how to get to me, you know. I like the angel better, to be honest with you. So we're going to sign, and then we'll take a few questions, and we'll tell you how good a job we're doing. We want to go from here to other places, but I was telling some of the people that in a certain way, you really want to be asked to go. You know, I hate to barge in on a city and then be treated horribly by corrupt politicians and bad politicians, like a guy like Pritzer. He ought to spend more time in the gym, actually. This guy is a disaster. Gavin Newsom's a disaster. When we went, we saved Los Angeles. You wouldn't have been able to have the Olympics in Los Angeles. You're barely able to have it now. They did lose 25,000 houses to a fire that should have never occurred because they didn't let the water come down from the Pacific Northwest, which you guys don't want to write about. I had to break into the water supply to let the water down. And even now, we want more. We can have much more. It's less than half of what should be coming in. I don't know, they have a political thing about it. It's like the craziest thing I've ever seen. But I don't like going to a town, city, place, a state, and then be criticized by some corrupt or incompetent governor where crime is rampant. Like, take a look at DC. Crime was rampant. It was at the all-time worst. It got really bad during the Biden 4 years. And then I have a mayor stand up and say how crime has reached a 30-year low. 30-year low. People are being killed left and right. And it's not a 30-year low. Think of it. So for 11 days, there's been no murders. The record goes back years where that's happened. They haven't seen that happen in years. And then people stand up, and instead of thanking us, which they should do, and she's not that bad. She's better than most. But, you know, you have people I watched in Illinois. Chicago, Illinois is a disaster. I have property there. It's a disaster what's going on in Chicago. And you get Pritzer, he's violating our rights. I think this is another men and women's sports thing. I think this is one of those, they call them 80-20 issues. I call them 97-3. I think the Democrats better get smart. And, politically, I hope they don't. But actually, in terms of love for the country, I hope they do, because it will be good to work together. So I'm thinking about, when I have some slob like Pritzer criticizing us before we even go there, I made the statement that next should be Chicago, because as you all know, Chicago's a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense, and I'm a smart person. And when I see what's happening to our cities, and then you send in troops, instead of being praised, they're saying you're trying to take over the republic. These people are sick. But I'm really saying, and I say this to all of you, in a certain way, we should wait to be asked, because they have cities that are so under control, out of control. So we go in and fix it. They take the full credit for it, and they go out and say, I heard it this morning. They're saying how well they've done over the last 10-day period, that they set record lows. They don't say that we're there with very tough people, by the way. They have to pass the toughness test. Otherwise, they're not working for us. So, and we're allowed to do that now, according to the United States Supreme Court decision. Now, they have to pass a toughness test. If they're not tough, we don't want them for this job. They might be great for other jobs, but not for this job, because they're respected. You saw the gang of kids. They were all huddled up, and a group of soldiers walked up. They never even got over. Those kids ran back to their homes or wherever the hell they came from. They were gone. This is one of the safest cities right now in the world, as crazy as that sounds. And it took 7 days. It took really 3 days, but we're now in our 11th day. So I want to thank you. So we had all of these things, 439 illegal alien criminals have been removed. And we have 6 known gang members, some of the worst leaders of gangs anywhere in the country, MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. We have 2 missing children that have been recovered. They thought they were gone. We brought them back to the family. The family started crying. They couldn't believe that they saw their child again. 49 homeless encampments have been removed. Like, we have the head of South Korea coming in a little while, the president, and he drives down the street. Already, his people have told me, he said, what happened? It's so clean. We always came here, it was filthy dirty with homeless and papers all over the road. That's the other thing. Those roads are swept immaculate.
Lorna said when?
Few months when we
okay, let's talk Epstein. Hold on.
Look like they're brand new.
We'll okay, I got some stuff put up. Let's go there.
1,000 times, and they don't fix them. They just let them.
Let's go there, because I see some stuff going on today concerning Epstein, and it looked like it says a former attorney general to face congressional questions over the Epstein ordeal, and it sounds like this is something that is happening. Yeah, it's happening right now. Let me see. So it says a former, and then I heard that they've been talking to Ghislaine or whatever her name is about and her story has changed. Have y'all heard that? Now, I have not been following this or anything, but I just heard it in passing. So let me go. I'm gonna go to the video, because I also want to listen at what his brother had to say, and I know some of y'all probably heard it. His brother is not buying any of the, that he did this to himself and all of that, and it just reminds me of some of the cases that I
on this show who either knew Epstein.
It just reminds me of some of the cases that I've been following over here over the years. I guess I can't hit mute over here. Okay, so what I'm looking at right here said a former attorney general who served under George Bush is testifying about the controversy of the Epstein ordeal at the White House, at the House Oversight Committee on Tuesday. So Alberto Gonzalez led the Department of Justice discussion with Florida federal prosecutors with results in the Epstein. So what to know? Gonzalez is the second witness called to the bipartisan House. Last week, U.S. former Governor General William Barr sat for a closed-door disposition before the committee. Okay, and then there's some stuff that's going on right now. Like, what time is it? 11:30? Let me see if they got that. They're saying that certain people is being called in. It says the House Oversight Committee has subpoenaed 10 high-profile former officials as part of its expanding investigation into the Jeffrey Epstein trafficking case. So the move for renewed scrutiny over the Justice Department handling of Epstein-related files and growing pressure from lawmakers to uncover potential misconduct. So here's a list of individuals subpoenaed by the House Oversight Committee in connection with the Epstein case. We have former President Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, former Attorney General Merrick Garland, former Attorney General William Barr. All of these are former attorney generals that I'm going to name. Jeffrey or Jeff Sessions, Loretta Lynch, General Eric Holder, and General, all of these former attorney generals, I should say, Alberto Gonzalez. And then we have 2 FBI directors, former James Comey and Robert Mueller. Let me see. Let me play this video, and I'm gonna be looking for this that they talking about right now.
Exact same words to describe Trump and Epstein's relationship over the past week as we've been talking to them and you've heard them. And they have done this totally unprompted. So here is a former Trump business executive, one of Epstein's former girlfriends, and an Epstein accuser who says she had a troubling incident with Trump. They all said the exact same thing here on Outfront.
They were best friends.
They were best friends.
Was his best friend.
You heard them, and right there, Jack O'Donnell, Trump's former business associate, talking about what Epstein meant to Trump. These are people, right, who each met Epstein and Trump at different times, in different places, and just to state the obvious, in totally different capacities. And yet they all concur on this crucial thing. They say that when they knew them, Trump and Epstein were best friends. So in just a moment, I'm going to speak to Mark Epstein. He is the brother of Jeffrey Epstein about all of this. Out front now, Mark Epstein, the brother of Jeffrey Epstein. And Mark, you know, from what you know, from what you saw, how close was your brother to Donald Trump?
They were very close. They were good friends. Jeffrey used to sometimes tell me things that Donald said that were funny. I know Donald was in Jeff's office a lot back in the 90s. It's documented that Donald flew on Jeff's plane a number of times. I don't know if they ever checked, but I know Jeff flew on Donald's plane also. I don't know if they've ever looked at his flight logs. And they were good friends. I mean, I flew on Jeff's plane. It's known I was on a plane in 1999, flying up from Florida, and Donald was with us. You know, and we were all joking around. They were good friends.
So, you know, tell me about that. I know there was something on that flight that you remember about your brother and Trump. What is it?
Well, it was a funny thing. We were talking, and well, stick a pin in that. A couple weeks or a week before that flight, I was talking to Jeffrey, and he told me that he was talking to Donald, and he asked Donald, "How come you sleep with so many married women?" And Donald's answer was, "Because it's so wrong." Now, amongst guys, it was a funny line. And then when we were on the plane a week or two later, Jeffrey asked Donald the same question. I know he did that for my benefit so that I could hear Donald say it. And Jeffrey asked him, "How come you sleep with so many married women?" And Donald said, "Because it's so wrong." Now, it's a funny line, but the answer is not the poignant part of the story here. The question is the poignant part, because for Jeffrey to ask him that question, number one, he would have to know that Donald slept with a lot of married women, so and he probably got that information from Donald. And
it
also,
implies a confidence.
That's not the kind of question you ask a casual acquaintance. You know, how come you slept with so many married women? That's a question you ask a good friend that you can get away with asking those kind of questions. So that
Yes.
that gives you an idea of how friendly they were.
Yes, it does. It does. It certainly gives that perception. Now, okay, Mark, Trump admits they had a falling out with your brother. That's what he said happened. He has not shared what led to it. But here are some of the things that he has been willing to say about your brother. I want to play them for you.
I was not a fan of Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of a club. I didn't want anything to do with him. Jeffrey Epstein was not somebody that I respected.
That does not fit with what you're telling me, Mark.
Yeah, I understand it doesn't. But he's trying to cover his butt. I mean, look, I understand people trying to distance themselves from Jeffrey because of what he was charged with and the circumstances he found himself in. I understand that. But I know that they were good friends, and I witnessed it myself.
You mentioned something a moment ago that made me think of this, something that the White House told us yesterday. We talked to a woman who accused your brother of sexual assault, and she also talked about an encounter with Trump at your brother's office. This was in 1995. She found it disturbing. She said she told the FBI twice to look into people around your brother, including Trump. But she talked about this incident that she said happened in his office. And the White House, their response to us, Mark, they were categorical. They said, quote, the president was never in Epstein's office. Is that true?
That's just another blatant lie, because he was there. The people that worked for Jeffrey in his office, you can find them. They can testify that they saw Trump in Jeffrey's office on numerous occasions. So for him to say he wasn't there, all I can say is that's just another lie.
So you talk about him as your brother, and you were on the plane together at that time. When did your brother first tell you that he was in legal trouble? When did you know anything about what he was doing?
It was about 2006 when he first got into trouble. It's known prior to Jeffrey's death. I hadn't seen him for 7 years, although we were always in touch, communication with telephone or emails, but we just never got together. And for the 12 years prior to that period of time, from like 2004 until 2008, we only got together maybe a half a dozen times or so, but we were always in contact. And in 2006, Jeffrey asked me to come up to his place uptown. He wanted to talk to me. So I was uptown. I stopped by. I'm not uptown all that much back then. I live downtown, and I sort of joke. I say to go above 14th Street, I need a visa. But so I went to talk to him, and that's when he told me that he was getting in trouble for being with girls that were too young. He said he was stupid, but he wanted me to hear it from him as opposed to hearing it on the news or something. And that's when I first found out, in 2006.
All right. And the reason that this is so important is trying to understand what the people around Epstein would have known, separate from what any of them might have also been doing, right? So I guess the question here then, Mark, is did you have any suspicions before Jeffrey's confession to you that he was involved with underage girls?
No, because I rarely saw him, so I didn't know what he was involved with. We had different lives. He had his friends, and I had my friends. We traveled in two separate circles, in a sense. A few people we knew together, but, he was more in the financial community uptown. I was more involved with the arts community downtown. So we had two separate lives, but we were brothers. We always stayed in touch. But the thing is, Aaron, the thing with the charges against him, that's really not my concern at this point in time. Jeffrey is dead, so I'm not the prosecutor. I'm not his defense attorney. I'm more concerned with the circumstances around what I now consider his murder.
Right. So
that's unsolved.
So I want to ask you that, okay? Because the Department of Justice issued that memo earlier this month, right? It's at the core of a lot of this that reads in part, and I quote, Mark, after a thorough investigation, FBI investigators concluded that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in his cell. Now, you say you were the one called to identify his body. You had conversations at that time.
Triggers.
And you do not accept this finding.
No, I don't, because what they don't mention in the report, and no one says, is that, after Jeffrey died, the next day I had to go to, number one, to identify his body, because I'm the next of kin, there's only heir. And they did the autopsy then. And Dr. Roman, who was the city pathologist, it was her autopsy. And Dr. Bondman was there on my behalf because I had the right to have, the family has the right to have their own pathologist there. And they did the autopsy, and they came out of the autopsy a couple hours later, and they both concurred that they could not call this a suicide because it looked too much like a homicide. They're very clear about that.
All right, Mark, thank you so much.
I mean, you cannot ignore what the man said. Now, I heard one of him talking, and I can't find it right now. He was way more descriptive with it, and they had surveillance footage that you could tell was edited. Things were taken out of the footage, and the only time I see that in reporting crime is when it's a cover up, and they don't want you to know something. Like Jelani Day case, you could tell that was a cover up. No, they never have the recordings or anything. They seem to lose the evidence. Everybody has an attitude. Nobody wants to talk. It has all the elements of BS. And I mentioned that they had spoke with his wife, Ghislaine. So I'm gonna go to that and see what we can gather. Just a little bit of what was going on here. This is the full audio.
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of reporting that said that I had
the full audio, but we ain't got time to listen to all of it. But let's see. Let's start from the beginning. Let's see what they talking about.
9:16. Maxwell and counsel are arriving to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and we will commence the proffer shortly.
I'm going to ask everybody to put their name on the record, of course.
Good morning. My name is Assistant Special Agent in Charge Spencer Horn of FBI New York. Today we're doing a proffer of Ms. Maxwell. The date is July 24th, and the time is 10:12 a.m. This interview is being recorded.
And my name is Todd Blanche. I'm the Deputy Attorney General. And before we start formally asking questions of Ms. Maxwell, I'm going to put on the record everybody that's in this room in addition to me. Starting with you, Diego.
Diego Pastana, Associate Deputy Attorney General.
And then you heard from Special Agent in Charge Horn, Mark Beard from.
This is very it's kind of bad on the audio, but Ghislaine is now 63 years old according to what I'm looking at here. And she is a British former socialite and a convicted sex offender. In 2021, she was found guilty of child sex traffic and other offenses in connection with the deceased Jeffrey Epstein. And let me see, what is this saying? So Ghislaine's accuser, Virginia Guffrey, she wrote a book exposing disparaging details about her. Okay, and this is coming from the Fortune, and it was yesterday that they posted this. I don't know anything about this woman at all. But it says in 2023, the New York Post had reported that Guilfrey had reached a deal and believed to be worth millions with an undisclosed publisher. Yeah, I don't know nothing about this person. Let's just listen to this.
The United States Marshal Service is here as well. And then David?
Yes, this is David Oscar Marcus, and I'm counsel for Ghislaine Maxwell.
My name is Thea Safian, and I'm counsel for Ghislaine Maxwell. My name is.
Okay, so hold on. Let me just read this part though, because it says here, Guilfrey has stated often that in the early 2000s, when she was a teenager, she was caught up in Epstein's sex traffic ring and exploitation by British Prince Andrew and other influential men. Epstein was found unalived in a New York City jail in 2019 in what investigators described as a self-unaliving. His former girlfriend, so he never married her, Ghislaine Maxwell, was convicted in late 2021 of sex trafficking and other charges. Okay, let's go. Y'all, please smack the thumbs up. It's very important and support of the channel.
Melissa Madrigal, and I'm counsel for Ghislaine Maxwell.
And the host.
Go ahead.
And I'm Ghislaine Maxwell.
Good morning, Ms. Maxwell. How are you?
Good morning, Ms. Blanche.
Good. Okay, so before we started recording, we met for a few minutes. I introduced myself and we chatted, and now I told you that we were going on the record. And before we start asking questions, I know that you've been given by your lawyer a copy of what's called a proffer agreement. And I just want to spend 2 minutes making sure that you understand what governs our conversation today. The most important part of this agreement is that this isn't a cooperation agreement, meaning that by you meeting with us today, we're really just meeting. I'm not promising to do anything. I'm not promising to ask Judge Nathan or any of the judges that's been assigned to your case to do anything. We're just talking. And so that's the most important part of this agreement. However, almost as important is the fact that what this agreement does for you is it gives you protection. So what it means is that the government cannot use what you say today against you, with some exceptions, which we'll talk about in a minute. But whatever you talk about today, you have what's called immunity. So that means that the words that you say today, we cannot use against you in a case in chief if we were ever to bring one.
So I know Keefe D had the same thing, and he's in prison right now for for the Tupac thing. I do believe his involvement in that. And then it says right here that Ghislaine doesn't think Epstein unalived himself and praises Trump. So that's interesting, but we're going to keep it playing. I'm going to try to find a little clip of what she says specifically about him.
Thank you.
There's exceptions to that. The most meaningful one of which is that if you say something today that's not true, that's a lie, we can bring a prosecution against you for what's called false statements. So I'm a federal officer. I have several officers here.
Tread
the
lightly,
FBI is
Ghislaine.
here, and if you lie to someone that's like me or like Special Agent Horn, it's a crime. So you have to be truthful. The other exception to this that doesn't necessarily apply directly to you, but if there ever was a retrial in your case, or if there ever was a criminal case, a future criminal case against you, and your lawyer or you said something different or took a position that's different than what you say today, we can then cross-examine you or a witness based upon what you say today. So it's a little bit nuanced, meaning I can't use what you say against you in our case in chief. However, if you were to testify, or if your lawyer called a witness to testify and they said something that is totally different than what you say today, we could then cross-examine you or the witness and say, hey, do you remember when we met with Miss Wax?
Man, that'll make me not want to talk at all.
We met with Miss Maxwell back in July of 2025. She told us, and then say what she said. Okay?
I understand.
Okay. Other than that, I know you didn't have a lot of time this morning to meet with Mr. Marcus, but did you have a chance to go over this briefly with him?
I did.
Okay. All right. So I've already signed it, as has Special Agent Horn, and Mr. Marcus signed it as well. So you got a pen? Please sign it right where it says clients. Yep. And I will provide a copy of this to your lawyer so you guys have it. Okay. Thank you. So, Ms. Maxwell, about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago,
You see the light blinking on there? On the Sony.
yeah, there it is. Okay, we're just confirming that it works, and it does. Ms. Maxwell, I guess about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, Mr. Marcus reached out to me and said that you wanted to speak with somebody from the government about not only your case, but about everything that's been in the media and that's been publicized about Mr. Epstein in your case.
That is true, and I did speak to him, and I did ask him did tell him that I was very keen to talk to anyone, because no one from the government at any time ever since the inception of the case, so dating back to the early 2000s, has ever spoken to me, and indeed, I believe ever reached out to me at any time to even speak to me, and that includes up to when I was indicted and prosecuted. I believe that, or I understand, I should say rather, that my attorneys at the time did tell the government that I wanted to speak to them because I was very keen to meet with anyone so that I could tell or have them ask me any question. I've never had any problem just to speak to anybody, and I offered myself, and I kept asking if they would meet with me so that I could talk to them, and for whatever reason, that was not happening.
Okay. I have questions that I want to ask you, but I'm not. If there's a path that a question that
We
I
are
wanna ask
resuming
that
from-
you think should be asked, I invite you to volunteer. Same thing goes to your lawyers. Just to start a little bit, very briefly, can you talk about when you first met Mr. Epstein? I know that goes back a while, and just very generally talk about your relationship with Mr. Epstein from the time you met him all the way up.
What do y'all think about her talking?
Up until his death.
I'm gonna put some pictures in here too. Just it's some pictures circulating with pictures of the president with them both and all of the stuff. And the brother said that they was close too, but clearly the president is saying that he has nothing to do with him at all. And I definitely would plead the fifth too, Sheila. Trump's name is redacted over 100,000 times. Wow. In the Epstein files. This is a fact. Wow. That's crazy, man. Let's keep going.
I
Crazy.
met Mr. Epstein in 1991. I'd never heard of him or met him before, and no one in my family had ever either. My father never knew him, and I'll explain why that is the case.
Where did you meet him?
I had a girlfriend who I moved to America briefly I moved to America in 1990.
Okay.
Moved is a good word. I'd come to visit America in 1990. I had been running my own company up until that time, which is a company called Maxwell's Corporate Gifts. And I had also been working for my father at the time. I've had multiple jobs with him. I was in 1990. I was working with a new company of his, a new newspaper that he was launching called The European, and I was in charge of launching a magazine to go with the European. And I was traveling at that time from England to America because my father was looking to, he'd also bought Macmillan, the publishing house, and he had purchased the New York Daily News. And it's true to say that my father always wanted me to come back full-time and work for him, but that's a much longer story I don't think we need to go into at this time. So, but I was always working with him. There was no escaping, as it were, to work for him. So in 1990, I had come over to New York to help look at some of that. He was having some advertising issues with the New York Daily News, and in fact, I may have met Donald Trump at that time because my father was friendly with him and liked him very much. And I think it should be said that he also very much liked Ivana.
This audio is horrible, and the bad audio is my pet peeve. God dang, that they couldn't go in there with no better equipment than that. What are we doing here? Okay, so I'm showing y'all some of the pictures that's circulating on social media. Those are the real pictures, right? These do not appear to be Photoshopped whatsoever, but I do have some that has a little bit of a Photoshop going on. So right here we got somebody created this one showing that he in front of the Epstein files and seeking the military out to, go war on Washington, or, get rid of the homeless encampments and everything, but don't worry about these files sitting behind me. And then somebody made this one saying we won't let it be forgotten. Release the list, okay? And then we have this. This I remember this look when, that alleged I don't know who the person was that fired upon him or whatnot. That looked like when they was carrying him off the stage or whatever. Somebody then photoshopped that. And then right here, somebody says that Ghislaine thinks she's gonna get away, but she basically gonna end up like Epstein. This I do believe is Photoshop, to him putting that metal on her neck or whatever. But yeah, so that person says she thinks she's gonna get away, but she's going to end up just like Epstein. There's no way the elites will let her walk around with that information. So what do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about that and this audio? Let's see if we can.
Because she was also from Czechoslovakia, where my dad was from. So I don't remember if I did meet him or not in 1990 with my dad, but I knew that's how I knew about then Mr. Trump.
And this was before you met.
This was before I met
Mr.
Mr.
Epstein.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was already going backwards and forwards in America, and then in April of 1991, I came to New York. I can't remember for what reason, what business reason, but there was a business reason, something to do with my dad at that time. And a girlfriend of mine, an American, told me I'd broken up with I'd been engaged, getting with a very long-term boyfriend, and we'd broken up. And she said, well, as your girlfriends do, I've got a guy for you to meet. And I was like, who is it? And she goes, he's been dating my sister, and you'll love him, he's looking for a wife. I'm edging towards 30. I don't need to tell you guys that's a very important moment for a girl, just to think about important things. Sure, I'd be happy to meet him. And so sometime in 1991, we're in 1991, I met him at his offices on Madison Avenue. And I think the most memorable thing I can think about that is he was wearing a tie, which he didn't often do, and it had a giant tomato ketchup stain on it. So I was like, wow, okay. And that was how we met.
Was your meeting at his office for you to meet him just personally, or were you there for work-related reasons?
No, I knew nothing about him. Okay. He just invited me to come and have tea. And I was like, tea, that's English, okay. But what was unusual was in his offices. So I went to his offices and we met. And I found him very engaging, and that was that.
So, okay, so that's how you meet him. So, and again, I don't want to spend a lot of time, on this particular issue, but what happened with your relationship over the years from the time you meet him in 1991 up until the time he passed away? Just give the highlights.
Okay, so I was looking for real estate for my dad to buy some, and Epstein told me that he was also looking to move from his apartment, and would I help him? And I was sure, I'm looking already, so I could look for him. So that's how it started. And then in 1991, my father passed away, and I returned to New York after that, originally to come back and help with the family businesses, which was Macmillan.
Okay, so I can't take no more. Y'all do see that it's on MSNBC, but I do want to talk about just what I found here. It says in a recently released July 2025 interview of convicted SEX trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell, said that Donald Trump was a gentleman in all respects. Okay, let me pull this up since we talking about the president. And so this is a picture of them two together. it says that Ghislaine says that he was a gentle man in all respects and that she never witnessed a president in any inappropriate settings. Well, she never witnessed the president. He wasn't a president back then. So did you witness Donald Trump back then? You know, you got to be careful how you ask these questions and how you say the questions or repeat it. But anyway, she never witnessed the president in any inappropriate settings in any way. Maxwell, who is seeking a pardon or reduced sentence, also denies any knowledge of Trump's involvement in the Epstein SEX ring. Her comments were made during a 2-day interview with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, if I'm probably saying that wrong, who had previously served as Trump's personal lawyer. So you got this Trump's personal lawyer they sent in to interview her. Okay. So key statements for Maxwell. The transcript contains Maxwell's comments on her Epstein relationship with Trump. Trump was a gentle man, she stated, that he was very cordial and very kind. The only social interaction, Maxwell said, she only saw Trump and Epstein together in social settings and did not consider them to be close friends. Now, that's different from what the brother said. You know, they did consider to be friends according to the brother. But this is what we are talking about. No inappropriate activity. She denied ever seeing Trump in any type of massage settings or hearing allegations that he did anything inappropriate with masses. She met through her father. Maxwell claimed that she may have first met Trump around 1990 because her father, media mogul Robert Maxwell, was friendly with him. Denied recruiting at Mar-a-Lago. She dismissed claims made by accusers. Virginia Giuffre, the name I was just talking about, that Maxwell had recruited her at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, stating, "I've never recruited a masses from Mar-a-Lago or masseuse." I'm probably saying that wrong. So the context of the interview, several factors surrounding the timing and the context of Maxwell's interview have been noted by journalists. So seeking a pardon, that is what that was all about. And Maxwell, who was convicted in 2021 and is also serving a 20-year sentence, is seeking a pardon and a commutative sentence. She wants to transfer to a lower security prison. So the interview with Blanche occurred shortly before Maxwell was transferred to a less restrictive prison. So did she get transferred just for doing the interview? Like, why did she get transferred? It occurred shortly before. So the interview occurred. Okay, so she did the interview and then they moved her. So it sounded like that was a privilege for the interview. I don't know, but that's what it sounded like. It says the interview with his former attorney occurred for shortly before Maxwell was transferred to a less restrictive prison. Critics, including Epstein's victims, have accused Trump of offering her a sweetheart deal, though the White House has denied leniency was discussed. Well, why did she move right after that? After other figures during the interview, Maxwell also addressed other prominent associates of Epstein, stating that former President Bill Clinton never visited the island either, or never visited the island. So I guess that is pretty much all she said. And you would have to listen to it all to get your own take on it. And that audio is so bad. I don't understand why the audio had to be that bad. I mean, this is 2025. We got all kind of devices. There's no reason why it should have been that way. To protect her because she is the only witness. Wow. You think they'll tell the truth? Heck no. Shout out to Thriving Global Joe. Welcome in, fam. Yeah, they definitely not gonna protect her. But it's something going on. I mean, what did she say before? Because, I wasn't following this case. I don't know what her statements were before, but we clearly heard the lawyer say if she say something different or whatever, they could, question her about that and all of that. So I don't know. Shout out to Joe for being a member for 12 months. Thank you so much, fam. Y'all, please smack that thumbs up on the LLC side. I would greatly appreciate it. Shout out to everybody in the building. Yeah, people. Yeah, definitely would have wait, the files will be released after Trump is done editing and redacting them. Yeah, yeah. What do y'all think about all of that? It's a lot going on, and I mean, we learned a lot in this broadcast today. I got another stream set up, and it's gonna pop up after this one. So, but I'm gonna read a couple of y'all comments. Yes, and so only thing making it interesting is Trump. Man, well, he is definitely interesting. I have never followed politics in my life until this administration. So I definitely agree with that. And now come on now, Maxwell. Somebody named Maxwell said Epstein is innocent. That is crazy. So Ghislaine, no, they just said Max Will. Okay. Max Will in the building. What more could he would he Dems already redacted them? Listen, it's a lot going on in this world. All I can say is we need to pay attention to what's happening because it affects everybody in some way. And even if it don't affect you, it definitely will affect somebody that you know. And one of the biggest changes that I've seen is about the housing, Section 8 housing. I seen a letter that they said 2 years on that, and that's it. It would no longer be a generational a thing with families and all of that. So definitely got to get your house in order. But Trump did nothing. Maxwell did nothing. So why is Maxwell in jail if she didn't do nothing? Okay. Harris will be released if Trump were on it. What do y'all think about what is his name? The guy, the MS-13, alleged dude, Abreu Garcia. So I heard that he got nabbed at the gate of somewhere, or he they let him out and then they arrested him again. So I don't have that in front of me though, but I was just wanted to bring that up. But y'all, please smack the thumbs up on the way out if you didn't get a chance to smack it while you was here. Thumbs up is very important. Y'all also, Ghislaine lied. Abrego. Yes, that is who I'm talking about. So what did y'all think about that? This is all about money. The DOJ will pay for the BS. We'll pay for their BS. Listen, I'm telling you, everybody is not happy, but we listen to Pritzer. We listen to the other lady. I got to get her name. We didn't listen to the mayor. His name is Brandon something, I believe. Who cares what a man? Listen, he's the president. Is that who or are you talking about Ghislaine? They just moved her, and for whatever reason, I don't know. I gotta look a little bit more into this. Maybe I'll try to listen to that and see what I can gather myself. But that audio is just horrible. But anyway, y'all, we're gonna go ahead and end it right now. But there will be, if y'all are into the case, Emmanuel Haro, his horror family, they were supposed to go to court today, but I guess it wasn't televised. But we will be getting into that, especially if they release anything today. Yes, you have a good day too, Gander. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And everybody, again, please hit the thumbs up on the way out. We gonna get up out of here, y'all. So hit the replay if y'all didn't catch everything, but we was just at the end listening at the Epstein, Ghislaine Epstein or Maxwell. She wasn't even married to the guy. He didn't even marry her. But she is definitely locked up behind her involvement with this, and I don't know all the details. But I'll see y'all in the next one. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Make this go viral. subscribe and set our notifications, y'all. Have a great day, Joe. Thank you. Let's go. 293. Please hit that thumbs up, y'all. And shout out to everybody who voted. I actually forgot to end that. Hold on. Okay, that happened. That happened. Let me end this. So we have 426 votes. And shout out to everybody who voted. I actually forgot to end that. Okay, so I had to look at my other device. We got 426 votes, and it says, is this about votes? And 45% of y'all said this is all about dictatorship. No at 30% is not about votes, and yes at 24%. So again, thank you for the 426 people that voted, and I wish we would have ended with 426 thumbs up, but we didn't. So the people that's still listening in, y'all please smack that thumbs up on the way out, and I'll see y'all in the next video.